Security concerns about the inauguration should be somewhat lessened because it will be declared a national security special event. That means tons of law enforcement, lots of eyes in the sky, from satellites to drones to helos. Still with us, Jen Goldbeck and Clint Watts. And Professor, back to you again. Despite the fact that some of the rioters have been disincentivized, in part politically because Republicans were eager to put the blame on Antifa, some are still incentivized. Talk about these planned events. One was mentioned in the Twitter statement tonight, a gathering on the 17th. There's a gathering on the 19th. What is the plan and among who?
So on the 17th, we've seen something planned from before Wednesday for armed groups, and it comes from some militia groups and then some Second Amendment enthusiasts to march both on the federal Capitol in DC, but also on state capitals. So gatherings and marches, the point being to show up armed for those. Now, they've come out since the 6th and said, we're not going to do what was done on the 6th, but they are really explicitly planning to show up with guns. So that's something to be concerned about. The 19th and the 20th are much more the kind of element that we saw on the 6th. They're really angry about the election. They feel it was stolen. They're also planning in these forums to show up armed. And so I think if that manifests, and things can really change a lot in the couple weeks that we have going, what we're going to see is a much smaller contingent, but one that's angrier and potentially prepared for violence. We certainly see that in the tweets where there's language like, I'm willing to lay down my life for this. If this is what it comes to, I'm going to enjoy my last cup of coffee today before I get ready to do this. So, I think the FBI is going to be looking into who these people are and trying to stop it. But we also need to pay attention to those actions going on at state capitals where there's plans to carry out these same kinds of activities.
Clint, I always note your unit flags on the wall behind you, starting with your days at West Point on through your service to the Army and the FBI. You have seen terrorism beyond our borders. How does it look to you within this country, legitimized by the leader?
Brian, it's remarkable. If you rewound 10 years, we'd be talking about a guy named Anwar al-Awlaki, essentially inciting people to do attacks in the U.S. homeland, telling people to attack symbolic targets, maybe the Capitol, possibly trying to hit soft targets in the United States. If I went into the online forums today, I would see the same thing being said by domestic actors, militia groups, extremist groups, accelerationist terrorists who want to speed up a second civil war. And the tipping for is from the president. President Trump's words carry more in that space than anyone else's. And I think to your point, even before the commercial break, which we were talking about, what the future looks like, one thing was interesting is the president was what united many disparate groups over the last several years. One of my colleagues, J.M. Berger, wrote an excellent piece a couple of years back that you have anti-government groups, white supremacist groups, sovereign citizen type groups. You have just people that want to go against more establishment government, all showing up under one leader, and that's President Trump. He really binds them together. So I think moving forward, what you do have a problem with now is many of these people that perpetrated the attacks at the Capitol, they are now heroes in their community. As extreme as they are, they will be seen as heroes. And once they get that just bite of fame, if they're not in jail, I think that's something to worry about, particularly as we move into summer and fall of this coming year.
Glad you added the caveat, if they're not in jail. Well, sadly, we're going to need you both to come back on between now and the inauguration. Our thanks for coming on tonight and explaining all of this to us and our audience, Professor Jen Goldbeck and Clint Watts. Thank you so much. Coming up.